Hi guys, this is the Working Money podcast with host Michelle Wong
Marcus Renton.
and we have Joseph Scorese right here in Philadelphia.
How you doing, guys?
Thank you, Joe, for inviting us.
Absolutely.
Yes, we're very glad to be here.
And let's get started with the discussion on mortgages. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little background on myself. I've been in mortgage lending since 2001 in different areas, whether residential, commercial, and or business banking, or even government lending in some form or fashion. But really, primarily, I've been focusing today in the last several years because the market is very robust in the greater Philadelphia market, even really the regional area or the tri-state area is residential lending, light commercial, mostly toward multifamily, and construction, rehab, fix and flip or fix and hold.
Wow.
Oh, okay, wow.
Cool. So, Joe, tell us, what's your biggest adventure so far?
Venture. Well, just getting up in the morning is sometimes an adventure. But in the mortgage world, it's really trying to put the application together correctly and leaving expectations for both parties, meaning me as a loan officer and my client, in a realistic area. Meaning, we're not trying to put them in a bad spot so they can continuously buy or
Right.
not be unbankable
Right.
after this loan that they buy. You want to put them in a position where they're still as good a position before than after.
Right.
And that's the adventure. Evaluating a financial resume of a customer.
Right. Okay. So, how did you first learn about what you do?
Well, I was an investor at first. I own
Okay.
a portfolio of real estate up in the North Jersey area, primarily Union, Morris, and Essex County, which I still own. I was working for the state. I was an auditor for the state, and then I was working for some private sectors in the pharmaceutical world and banking world as an auditor. And then around 2001, I decided that, business, I'm never going to get past being what I was. I was a senior accountant.
Right.
I could make a couple moves, make a couple dollars,
Right.
but I was getting a little frustrated with my real estate portfolio as well as the loan officers I was working with and getting more loans. So I decided to get my banking license.
Right.
I've always had my real estate licenses. I've had my real estate license in New Jersey and PA since 1987. So I've always had access to real estate. It was very important. I took the exam when I was 18 years old, and I've held it ever since. So that got me into being on the other side, understanding lending, learned from good, bad, or indifferent, became very centered over the last decade in the business, made it through the 2008 mortgage collapse. But after I became a lender full-time and was maintaining my real estate portfolio, I decided to move up to the Lehigh Valley.
Okay.
Married, divorced, but still in the portfolio afterwards. I survived that too. That's another mortgage crash in a sense. But then met my second wife and kind of decided to sell that portfolio off, move to the Philadelphia market, reestablish my network, and reestablish myself buying real estate. And I've been actively buying real estate here in the Philadelphia market for about 4 years now, 5 years now. So I'm transactional. I'm not just lending money. I also understand from the circumstance of how money is lent and why.
Wow. Congratulations on that. Successfully navigating that, all those events. And what advice would you give to someone that's just starting out in mortgage lending and stuff like that?
From a mortgage lender perspective or
Yeah.
a borrower?
Mortgage lending.
If you're going to be a mortgage loan officer in this market today, any market in the United States, I'll say, one, the average successful loan officer age is 50. So what do you tell the person that's 30 years old,
Right.
right? It's not about just doing the kill of getting a loan closed, not worrying and having a concern with that borrower's impact, what's going on. I'd say always work for a good operation before worrying about making more margin on loans. Because
Right.
if you don't work for a bank, there's more money to be made on a loan because you're in a broker world. If
Right.
you're a bank, there's regulation. I still think that working for a bank always will give you better education and you will see more volume. It's all about seeing volume of different types of loans,
Right.
more so than closing specific type of loans. I've seen over 1,000 loans in different forms or fashion. So seeing over 1,000 loan applications, I know all the mistakes I've made. I've seen all the different scenarios that have come up, different rules and regulations. Like I just learned a new one or was reminded of a new one just yesterday, okay, in regards to a condo. Didn't realize it or didn't remember it, it came up.
Right.
Okay, so it's always volume based, and you want to see volume. I feel that if somebody's going to get into the business today as a loan officer, they're better off working for a bank than a broker. And it's definitely not about the paycheck, because you're definitely going to make more money closing a loan with a broker, but you're not going to learn the operations of all the rules and regulations that Fannie have on us, Freddie have on us, the government rules and regs, than working for a bank.
Okay.
And that's the best advice I can give it to a loan officer that wants to get in the business at 30 years old, at 25 years old, 35 years old.
Right.
How do you get to that 50-year-old average
Exactly.
successful loan officer that much sooner?
Right.
Okay? That's how I look at it.
Right. I understand that vibe. It's a similar kind of profile in like capital raising as well.
Well, you also look at it another way. There's controlled partnerships at real estate offices. You know, your flagged real estate offices, they have usually somebody that's in-house. There's only a 20% retainage of business by the realtor to that individual that's in-house. So typically what that 20% looks like is the stuff they couldn't get approved to the people they typically work with.
Right.
So you're getting the stuff that's peeled
Bounced
off
off.
the floor that has bubble gum on the bottom.
Exactly.
of
Everything that
file.
everyone passed on.
Yeah, it's the pass on stuff. So you don't, that stuff is very hard to sometimes.
Package up.
Yeah, I took an application just before you guys came, and immediately by the time I got to his employment, I knew he wasn't qualified. I just stopped. I said, I can't do this loan, I'm very sorry. Just talked to two other loan officers that told me the same thing. I said, I didn't bring up that he didn't mention that, but I assumed that he was not surprised with my answer. But he goes, you were a lot quicker. You stopped me right at employment.
Exactly. Because of the volume, you could see it.
Just, yeah, why even go any further? Why go down to the football field and find out at the 20 you don't have a football? Doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, and you know what? One of the things that I've noticed, and I'm not hating on real estate agents or anything like that, because I'm an agent myself, but sometimes they don't take that extra step of following through and really looking at the whole dynamics as if it's, you know, a loan officer, we be able to distinguish and be able to see everything from, you know, from the beginning to the end, you know, because you guys are more knowledgeable and know what you're doing. As to an agent, sometimes they just go through the motions and sometimes they hiccup and they don't see
Well, they
everything.
also don't see enough volume on their side. I mean,
Yeah.
to my 15 loans to 20 loans that I'm closing a month, they're closing maybe one or two deals.
Right.
So they might not be seeing the different types of assets being sold or bought. Another thing is that a realtor is being taught what their broker's teaching them. And that could be good and bad. Also, they're coming from other industries other than real estate. Also, most of them don't even own their own home or own an investment property. So if we're talking about first-time home buyer, and if the person's living at home with family, how can they say, hey, I understand what you're going through? Or they're trying to help you buy your first investment property, and they say, I understand what you're going through. They don't understand what you're going through. So the understanding is not the same level. Little statistic, for 2016 going to 2017, there was over 11,000 real estate agents licensed in the state of Pennsylvania. 7,000 went to one specific office. I think it's great they went there because they're going to get a year or two of education. Right now, anybody could sell a house or buy a house. The market's very hot.
Right.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to list a house properly and get 3 offers because the inventory's tight. But when the market shifts, you're going to have an influx of a lot of those individuals that went there, and they're going to be going to other offices because they got the education. They just don't see the volume, and they realize their bottom line, they're not making any money either. So that's actually a good thing on how that all works because it's the 80-20 rule, right?
Right.
There's really only 20% doing business.
Wow.
And if you notice, most of the flagged real estate offices that are out there are steering everybody toward being on a team. What if the team starts not doing well, or the team leader doesn't structure it well?
Exactly.
Now everybody's drawing on the vine, and they have to break away anyway. And I'm talking about the Coldwell Bankers, the Keller Williams, the Remaxes, the Berkshire Hathaways of the world. You know, the Weicherts and Exit Realties are more a different spectrum. They're more individually based, you know, but the ones I'm talking about, the Remaxes, the KW, those are trying to pull everybody toward a team. And you're not learning anything because you're going to be cookie cuttered into doing one thing for that team, and you might not learn about anything else.
Right.
So if you want to learn to buy, the sell side, the in-between management, you need to find that type of environment And this is from a loan officer perspective,
Right.
is you have to find a place where you're going to get a full balance of education. And that's why when becoming a loan officer, I always have worked for a bank. I have never worked for a broker shop. I probably won't.
Right, and that's a good thing, because I wouldn't want to be in someone's shoes where they could have closed a certain amount of deals. They could have done a whole lot better in the mortgage industry. Whereas if they're in a bank versus being in a brokerage, and then they quit, but they wanted to do the mortgage lending, but they're in the wrong environment from doing it. So
And
it's
they get a bad taste in their mouth.
exactly. So then they think, oh, this is not working, I need to give up. Whereas no, you're doing it in the wrong place.
Listen, we're already being in real estate, we're already in a structuralist environment.
Right.
The only way that you create structure is on your own.
Right.
How do you make the phone ring? How do you create inbound traffic?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get people to call you instead of you calling them?
Right.
Like, I don't cold call real estate agents. Ever. Never. I know a lot of loan officers, that's all they do. They
Mm-hmm.
cold call real estate agents. I mean, I don't know if you're active, but you probably get a couple calls from loan officers weekly or daily. That won't be me. My way of being as a loan officer is being a network,
Right.
fortifying educational subjects, creating opportunities, and creating a network, building a power team. And that's the difference maker.
Right.
I could work for XYZ company, but my brand is I'm a mortgage lending specialist, and I'm available to talk to because I'm very busy, but busy people return their calls and their emails.
Yes.
Last time I checked.
Right.
And that's how I have to look at it. And again, it goes back to talking to that person getting into the lending business today because they see the business being a great place to be. You have to always return your calls and emails. I don't know if you get upset, but when you call someone and their voicemail's all full, like, really, are you that busy that you can't unload your voicemails and write it down on a notebook and then cross each one out after you make a phone call to those
Right.
people? I think it's a great feeling of completion.
Right.
So, I mean, unless I'm not available or I'm physically ill, my voicemail's never going to be full. Because that creates a brand all by itself, that you're
Right.
not available.
Yeah, and that
I
does
totally
send away
understand
clients.
that. For me, whenever I'm dealing with clients, I always make myself available. I'm busy, yes, but I always get back to the person
of
because
course.
you're basically forging a relationship with that
Yep.
person. And if you're dismissing them too quickly, they're going to say, well, obviously I'm not that important, and they'll move on to someone else.
I agree.
Right.
And that's how we create our businesses, is by the foundation of creating those relationships with those people. If those people can trust you and they see that you have a good track record, and not just by the experience, but also the other people that they see around you that you have as clients, those are the people that are saying, obviously this person knows what they're talking about. They have a good track record. They have great clientele. I want to work with them.
Right.
This also leads into when I return phone calls. Oh, wow, you called me back so quick. I called them within the hour, to say, hypothetically. And I laugh. I'm like, well, when do people typically call you? I don't want to ask everyone every time I do that, but I wonder, like, when do people really do return their calls or do their follow-ups? I mean, when somebody's so happy that I called them back within the hour. So it's kind of, if I'm available, I'm going to take your call. If I'm not available, I'm going to call you back as soon as possible.
Right.
My as soon as possible is within 24 hours.
Right.
I think other people's as soon as possible is 48 to 72 hours. So,
Or even a week.
or a week even for that matter. It's really funny when people get back to you a week. I've been really busy. I haven't been able to email you in a week, but it's okay. And I had the opportunity to speak with probably one of the top 5 realtors in the country who works out of Philadelphia. And he was speaking at one of the events that I held, and I went up and said, "Listen, I know I'm not going to get a mortgage call from you tomorrow, so let's not go down that road thinking I'm going to get business from you. That's fine." I said, "But can I have 10 minutes of one-on-one to just pick your brain, and because I appreciate you coming out and talking to me, but I want to understand how you tick. One of the most successful real estate agents in the country."
Right.
Okay, he goes, "Okay," and I said, "Listen, what makes you tick?" He goes, "I return every phone call and every email till 10 o'clock in the evening. I start at 8 a.m. I take off on Saturdays to be with my family. I spend an hour every morning and every evening and talk to my wife." Okay? So he brings up family, he brings up regimen, and follow-up and follow-through. It almost has like a spiritual tone to it if you think about it. And that's really what it's all about. And he's one of the most successful real estate agents in the country.
Wow.
Not in the county, in the country.
So all you real estate agents out there, you better take a page out of his book.
So, I mean, and that's how, and he has also a team of 20 people at this point. But
Right.
again, that is follow up and follow through. That's consistency and continuity. I mean, it all has a spiritual tone to it, but it is.
Right.
I mean, if you're in it, you're in it.
It's definitely very important to focus and give the client attention, and to connect properly with them. That's how you meet their need. That's how you achieve your goal. From talking to you, I feel like you're very passionate about what you do. What's your biggest inspiration, professionally and personally?
Well, well, my wife is my inspiration, to be
Okay.
honest with you, but she's my muse. I'll always tell people the sun rises and sets around my wife. Okay? What she did for me was the biggest thing that could anybody ever do was, one, find me an acceptable mate. That's one.
Right.
But two, she had me take some self-awareness courses.
Wow.
Not anything to do with real estate, not anything to do with lending, not anything to do with any of that. Now, I lose focus on some of that sometimes, but I always get back to it. And it's all about accountability and integrity. And those self-awareness courses got me to be a very straightforward, direct individual. You know, when you're in sales, you have this theme of guaranteeing and promising people. You have a theme of not returning calls when there's bad news. You have a theme of not getting back to people with news. So what now? The news is the same to me.
Right.
Good, bad, indifferent. I'm very much more straightforward to people. You're either going to like me or you're not. And like's overrated anyway. I'd rather be loved, respected, and feared. It's a lot more fun. Okay?
Right.
And in this business, those are the three more important things. Respect is really the biggest thing. So how do you gain respect with somebody? Is integrity. And being accountable for your actions. I try to be accountable for my actions. I explain my good and my bad to people.
Right.
We had an off film conversation here, off podcast, and
Right.
I was very direct. Okay, nothing more, nothing less. And I think that's very important because then people see who you are and whether they're going to decide whether they want you to be in their company and be part of their power team.
Exactly.
You know, I've had a lot of friends, including myself, made a lot of mistakes in life. Nobody's innocent sitting here in this room here, okay? So at the same time, you got to look at things always in a straightforward perspective, and that was the game changer. And I won't go into the class was, but I could say if anybody wants to take a self-awareness class and really focus and honing in on making a transformation, there's some really good courses out there that could be extremely helpful, game changing.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking my business changed 30%. I couldn't even present correctly in front of people for 2 weeks. My whole vocabulary had changed. Like just discussions in front of 20 people changed. It evolved. So I think that's more important than taking a real estate or one of those lending workshops or real estate workshops on a weekend. If you take a self-awareness course, the workshop's going to be that much more fun. It'll be that much more clear. That's my thought.
Cool. So Joe, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book. I always say the book. I never can remember the full name of it, but I watched the movie and the book. It was the Peaceful Warrior. Nick Nolte actually played in the role both times. One as the young man and then one as the old man.
Yeah.
It was this book about a guy going through college and going through transformation and life, and falling in love and getting advice from somebody. And he was a gymnast, and it was all this tough stuff. It was like based in the 70s. My wife gave me the book, and I thought it was really, I read it every once in a while just to kind of
Get that vibe.
together it. I read Brian Tracy books. I do read a lot of Anthony Robbins books, which are really fun. But I'm going toward podcasts, really, to be honest with you.
Nice.
I don't have the time to sit there and read the books. So I go toward audio, and I go toward podcasts and listen to them as well. I really like the Brian Tracy technique of, when you leave for the day, it's like going on a 7-day vacation with your emails and your follow-ups and follow-throughs. So what I try to do is empty my email and put everything in my notebook to write, to follow up. So I know I got to it's not in my email anymore. So now I got to be responsible to follow up with those individuals.
Exactly.
So I try to empty my emails. I don't know if you do that, but
I do. You know what? And I don't want to knock the millennials or anything like that, but I guess the millennials, because of the fact that they have everything easy access, where they just do through the text and all of that. I'm very old school. I'm 38 years old. You know, I always
I got
tell
10
my
years
age,
on you, so don't worry about it.
and I'm
Are
still
you 15?
Me, I
They
am
paint that hair on your
14. No,
face
I'm
and-
26.
They paint that hair on your face?
Yeah.
And I'm very old school, where I have to write everything down so I can remember it.
I'm going to make you
Right.
laugh. I have a good friend of mine that threatens me that he's going to steal my notebook and my calendar book. I do not use Google Calendar. Unless
don't-
somebody invites me, and then I put it down in my calendar notebook.
Right.
Everything is written down in my notebook. You know why? Because when you write it down, it's real.
Exactly.
When you put it in your Google Calendar, it was so funny. I always remember this. I met a realtor was going to meet me for a one-on-one. He put it in his Google Calendar and he laughed. I put it in my notebook, in my calendar book. He's like, "Oh, you don't use Google Calendar?" I'm like, "No." I said, "Because if I write it down, I'm going to be there." Guess who didn't show up for the one-on-one?
He did. But yeah, for me,
Old school still applies.
exactly. And you know, the other thing that, well, Marcus doesn't make fun of me on it, but there are other people that do. And my other friend and business partner, Willie,
Yes.
he's a little bit older. He's in his 50s. So we're always doing the old school stuff, where we like to write everything. And regardless if we see it on like the audio and everything, I still like to have my book. I still need to write my notes. I still have to see that paper so I know that I can see it and remember it.
Right.
And
Also, when you're taking notes when you're meeting somebody for a one-on-one,
yes,
when you follow up to thanking them for that one-on-one,
yes,
and you categorize the things that you brought up of importance, and you make sure those are being addressed, it makes a lasting impression.
Right.
I mean, I've earned a new sponsor for my events, for the happy hour events that I hold, because of the follow-up and follow-through of the items I wrote down. They were so taken back that I made the proper introductions. There was like it was only 4 or 5 things.
Right.
And I emailed just this person, I did this, it was all complete. Now they're like, "Hey, when can we sponsor an event?"
Wow.
It wasn't even like, they just want to know when. They don't care how much, they don't care, and it's not really a lot. I mean, it's not the matter of money, really. At this point, they find me to be somebody that's accountable. The one guy he was a younger guy, and the older guy that's the owner of the company was watching. He goes, "You write everything down?" I said, "Absolutely. I'm not going to remember everything by the time I get out of here." I said, "I write everything down."
and you retain everything.
Exactly.
Well, your
Memory.
retainage is better.
Yeah.
Believe me, when you write it down, like when I was studying in college, you know, it takes the average human being 7 times to remember something
Right.
when you're studying. So how do you get you read it, you highlight it, and you write it. You know, you read through once, and you're going to go over it 3 times, and you do it again. So you had 6 times, and then you write down certain things that you think of importance. Now you almost hit that 7 times within 2 times of study. It's the same thing with following up with people in business. Okay, I give everybody 3 phone calls or 2. Like I do the 3-point touch or 4-point touch.
Right.
A couple calls, email. If they don't get back to me, they're not really serious at this.
Right.
And so you're not going to get caught up and dragged down by 4 people that are dragging you around.
Exactly.
Like the one individual I took the application today, I called him 3 times. So it was a bank referral. So I had to, I have to treat that a little differently because it's internal. And basically, once I took, quick, can't do it. I'm sorry. At least he's complete with me, and he's like, "I appreciate it." He goes, "Can I call you when I file my next return?" I said, "Absolutely. I look forward to earning your business." I
Exactly.
said, "Have a great weekend," and that was it.
And that's another thing. In business, and regardless if it's bad news, you always have to be honest with the person.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to be direct, you have to be honest, and that is one of the key components for people to respect you, because if you're beating around the bush and you're trying to avoid and all of that, that looks bad on you.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to when you asked me about the 30-year-old that's getting into the loan officer business.
Right.
Okay? An application comes in, you're taking an application on a person that has a 740 plus credit score. That means they never missed a bill,
Right.
right? They've always paid their bills, okay? They make $200,000 a year. You act unaccountable to an individual like that, you won't even get the loan. But 2, you'll never get their referrals. Now, somebody that typically makes $200,000 a year hangs out with other people that make $200,000 a year.
Exactly.
They hang out with people with 740 plus credit scores. Do you see where I'm going? And that's really the true impact of success. When that individual refers you to one of their colleagues, which is probably as good or better.
Right.
Makes
Because it
sense?
grows.
Yes.
it grows. It's not just that one and
Well,
done
it's
client.
your,
It
what
grows.
is it? Your net worth is
Is
your
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 network is your
net
net
worth.
worth.
Yes.
That is not Kiyosaki, but the other gentleman, another Asian gentleman, I can't remember his name. He's the one that came up with the quote.
Yes.
He's on LinkedIn, very
Yes.
big on LinkedIn, very
Yeah.
passive-looking man. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But it's very important because that person that's making $200,000 a year has only so much patience, and wants to feel like they're being treated by a professional.
Right. It's the honesty and the open communication, the transparency that really seals the deal with them.
I got a guy that's making really good money. He wants to buy investment properties. He put a property under contract. Appraisal came back $15,000 short. Guess how fast he found out? As soon as I got it in, I literally forwarded it right to him and said, listen, we've got an issue here. That's an independent appraisal. That is not me doing the appraisal. That's the appraisal. You need to talk to your realtor and talk to the selling agent right away. Joe, I appreciate that very much.
Right. Because
He saw it time-stamped 3 minutes before. So I wasn't waiting around for bad news to give to him.
Right.
Okay, it's all reflective on. I'll give you another example. When you have to have a credit repair specialist in your pocket, that means you're not taking the right applications. Okay, I have a credit repair specialist I utilize, but he might get one credit report a quarter, and it's usually not repair, it's maintenance. If that makes any sense. Like
Yes.
There's a collection on there they weren't aware of and they want to get it removed real quick. Something like simple.
Right.
My average credit score that I'm taking on an application is 700. Okay, so I don't have a lot to give out to a credit specialist, but I've defined my business. Okay, if you want to go after the 100 to 200,000, better have a credit repair specialist in your. You better have 3.
Right.
But I'm not chasing that carrot. I'm chasing the carrot for the more qualified individual that has a financial resume and just wants to expand upon that financial resume.
Exactly.
Okay, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but
No, it
and why I
does.
call it a financial resume. We all have a resume if we ever needed a job. There's no difference in a personal financial statement being a financial resume than your resume for applying for a job. It's the same, you're applying for a mortgage. It's the same thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Marcus,
Mm-hmm.
do you have anything else to share?
No.
I just want to talk about where we are, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well-
And do you have any projects that you're working on that you want to share with the?
Sure.
All right.
We work in Northern Liberties, 1010 North Hancock Street. Wonderful place to have an office. It's a co-working space. I mean, obviously WeWork is international at this point, and this is, I think, their marquee WeWork in the area. It's
Definitely
really
looks
nice
it.
setup. We host a lot of events here. I host a lot of workshops here as well. My offices are here. I do collaborate with a real estate office here called Your Town and Country Real Estate, and a property management company, Philly managed. And they're a boutique office, and they do very well for themselves and have a good reputation out in the market. And current projects, I am transactional, as we discussed. I'm currently involved with new construction. I have 6 new construction projects. I have single-family development and renovation. I have currently 4 of those. And then I have 3 multifamily projects, all in different types, meaning some are for, I'm flipping a 7-unit, and then the other one building a 5-unit, and then the other is more for just cash flow, and that's like an 8-unit. So I'm very involved in different facets of real estate. I just bought a portfolio of 6 single-family homes in Delaware County. That's really just for cash flow, because you're not going to
Right.
make a lot of money on the flip. You're going to make money on the hold.
Exactly.
So I'm always looking for opportunities. I get a lot of off-market and pocket opportunities because of the position I'm at as a networker, but also as a loan officer, because at the end of the day, somebody needs money.
Exactly.
So I do see a lot of transactions, and I feed them through the offices here because it's easy. I give an example. I got a package of 14 single-family homes in Kensington area of Philadelphia, and somebody came to me. We packaged it, gave it to one of the realtors. They already have it under contract. Never even hit the MLS. And then there's a package of 40 properties that are being packaged right now, going to be sold. Never hit the MLS. Now these are not $1 million thing. It's probably like a $600,000 acquisition. At the end of the day, maybe a little more, whatever that case may be is. But that was never on the MLS. That was just something that fed to me. I fed back out. There's my buyers. There's my sellers. Everybody's all lined up, and there's money. And I'm financing in. The realtor's making a living. The seller agent's making a living. Everybody's making a living.
Right.
So that's what really, what's really nice about the Philadelphia market. You can survive down here you don't have to make a lot of money, but if you want to really do well, and when you do well, living in Philadelphia is a wonderful place. Like as we were talking, North Jersey, New York, I mean, if you don't make X, you're kicking a can on the corner. You know what I mean? And it's really hard to survive. Here, survival, as long as you're out there networking and building your business, you will make a good living working in the real estate field and the lending field for that matter. So that's why we situated our offices here. I am responsible for specific branches for First Trust Bank, but my network is really my supporting staff. I mean, I get some business from the bank, but really I'm out on the street meeting people like yourselves to expand my business and my network and help one another in a collaborative way.
Wow. Excellent. So guys, shooting live from the city of brotherly love. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Work Your Money podcast.
Joe, where can people find you or contact you?
Sure. Well, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I think I just hit you up on Instagram.
Yes.
I think I'm rolling out the Instagram program. I'm teaching a class on it actually next month, so kind of rolling it out. All those different social media sites. But I can be reached at 215-290-5108 and or J Scorese, that is JSCORESE at firsttrust.com. It's FIRSTRUST, one T in the middle. And any questions or concerns about mortgage-related items, please let me know. And I really appreciate you coming down from the Big Apple to the city of brotherly love, and get to keep Rocky in the midst of here.
Rocky!
We could go run the stairs real quick.
So guys,
Yeah!
if you want to also find us, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It would be Work Your Money Podcast. You can also find us on our website, workyourpodcast.net. Until the next time, this is your Work Your Money Podcast. Bye.
Take care, guys.
Be
Let's
well.
go run the staircase.